And welcome into the cheat sheet here on the NFL Fantasy Football Show. I am not MG. Marcus is still away enjoying family and son and hopefully drinks and all of that. But you got me and you got LaQuan Jones holding it down for the next, 30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
So
man.
be lively in the chat today. Like I will say this. We have stuff planned to talk about, but we were like, if the chat takes us somewhere, we're going to
Which
go
they
there.
will.
So
Yeah, they will.
please chat if you have questions or whatever. Definitely let us know. LQ, how are you enjoying this time of year? Because to me, this is the most boring sports time of year. There's no football yet. We're close though. Basketball's off. Hockey's off. If you're into that, it's baseball or bust kind of right now.
No, for real, man. I just been kicked back chilling, man, doing these mock drafts and doing some of these best ball drafts and just kind of staying tapped in with the fantasy streets and see where a lot of these minds are going and seeing ADPs drop and come up when there's no news. So I'm kind of confused of what's going on, but it's more so everybody just kicking back and getting prepared for training camp, man. We need some news.
We're in hot take season right now. Like you go on
Oh, yeah.
social media, everyone is trying to flag plan because that's what happens when you have this much time and not a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But luckily, we have a whole lot to talk about today. We're gonna start with a little bit of news. Brian Thomas Jr. is not resting after his stellar rookie season. Wants to help guide Travis Hunter. The Jags just signed Travis Hunter last week. They did it in a funny way where they sent out 2 tweets saying we signed wide receiver and DB, 2 individual ones. But
Nice.
what are your thoughts on these duos coming into the year? Do you like one more than the other? And just like from an NFL standpoint, where do you rank them amongst the great duos?
This one was actually tough when you start looking at wide receiver duos because there's some guys that just, stand alone like Justin Jefferson, and like you look at Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but like, do we add Addison to that? So I went down the line and like, I think Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, they could be like top 3 within that wide receiver duo talks just with Liam Cohen on the sticks because obviously Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are my one.
They're one, right? Like we both agree on that. There,
but then obviously it's Puka Nacua and Davante Adams at number 2. Like, let's be serious. Like, come on.
What about Batman and Skinny Batman?
Listen, man, they're in the 4s and 5s because I honestly think Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter as a duo, I like them more than an AJ Brown and Devontae Smith at this point.
I'm the AJ Brown guy. I think AJ Brown is being overlooked a little bit. He was on pace for 1,400 yards last year in the 17 games.
It's crazy.
Played, and so for me, they're number 2. I could put these Jags guys. I think like them and Puka. I would still probably take the Rams, depending on what Devontae still has left in the tank. But I would not be surprised at all if a year from now, where like the Jags have the best duo in the NFL.
At 5, we could put Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but then it's like, I don't know if, this year we can even look at them as a duo because how healthy is Chris Godwin going to be? He might, be on the sideline, start the season. Then we're hearing great things about Emeka Egbuka from Mike Evans and the coaching staff. So it's like, all right, well, who's going to fill that second spot if Chris Godwin's not in the building,
Yeah, I mean, they got a couple of young guys there in McMillan and stuff, but you know who's an underrated duo? Thinking about it right now, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams.
Oh boy,
they never get the credit they deserve.
I don't know, man. Like Jameis is such a hot topic right now because he's a top 25 in ADP right now in wide receivers, and I just fully do not agree. Like I just feel as though last season was the breakout, it was the awakening, it was Ben Johnson's like having all bricked up about getting him deployed and getting him, established within the offense. But it's like, can he carry this over now without Ben Johnson? Like, can this happen without him? Like, I don't see it.
I think it could. I do think though that he is right now. We're all looking at best ball ADP. He is a better. He is a better in best ball kind of player because of that high ceiling. Like we know at any point he can go for a 60-yard touchdown. So like, it's a little bit easier to deal with that in best ball when you don't have to worry about setting your lineup. Whereas in a week-to-week league, inconsistency could be an issue for him. Look, I will say this is something we're going to talk about probably a lot in the summer. I think the Lions have more question marks than people are talking about. Like,
Oh
they
yeah,
lost two of their interior O linemen. They lost not only their lead OC and Ben Johnson, but they lost their number two in their pass game coordinator in Tanner Eggstring, who is now the OC for the Jets. So, like, a lot of changes there in Detroit. LQ, I'm going to let you talk about this because you put this on the rundown. A lot of changes in New Orleans as well with Tyler Shuck. So he is saying all the right things. He's looking the part right now. And the thing is about Shuck, he had so much college experience that he is day one ready to play in the NFL. So your question that you put on the rundown is, what if Tyler Shuck is good? Are we overlooking the Saints for fantasy?
I mean, look, what if we are? Like, you said it, he's a veteran basically coming in. The college experience is there. He's played a ton of football. The dude's like 25. He can have his own car insurance. Like, shout out to Tyler Shuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
he could rent a car legally.
Yes. So the thing is, how I look at it as like, Bo Nix was NFL ready because he had all that type of experience in college. What if he's coming and hitting the ground running as a quarterback rookie, you know, that's ready to command this offense? Like, he's ready for the ups and downs, and like, he's going in with confidence. Like, there hasn't been much confidence talk other than Cam Ward that we've heard from this quarterback class. So it's like Tyler Shuck is the only one that's going out there like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Like, let's do it. And like, when you look at the ADPs, like you look at Alvin Kamara right now in best ball drafts and underdog, RB19, Chris Olave is at, that's definitely wrong. I forgot to put the rest of that, but he's not wide receiver 7. He's definitely wide receiver 37, I believe. But then you look at Brandon Cooks and Rashid Shaheed and Jawan Johnson, the rest of this offense. Golly, man, this is feeling like real nasty work right now.
Yeah, and with you, I'm like with you. I don't get excited about any. Like, look, I hope Tyler Shuck is a good quarterback. I liked him during the pre-draft process, but it's like you said, it could be real nasty work in New Orleans this year. Like, you always have to think range of outcomes, and the possibility of things going very south greatly outweighs the benefits of if things hit, in my opinion. So I don't really find myself super in on the Saints, but we have a lot of questions, some from the chat and some from Twitter. But right here in the chat right now, TJ McGee says, would you take Jeanty over CMC? For me, this is an easy one. But what do you think, LQ?
Definitely taking Jeanty over CMC. I'm not getting burned again, man. Like, we've seen this story play out when he left Carolina. Like, he was really banged up leaving Carolina, went to San Francisco. Now we're here, 2 years later. He is banged up now. Didn't look great last year with his opportunities. Looked like he lost his burst and things like that. I understand the PPR upside is always going to live there for him. But again, this is a banged up San Francisco 49ers offense. Like, I can't put my eggs in a basket for CMC where there could be 300 touches on the table for Jeanty where it's already identified. Like, he is the guy. The offense will run through him. He will be the motor of why the Raiders offense will even be in scoring position, in my opinion. Like, I know Brock is there. He's a solid established pass catcher. You have Jacoby Myers. We're hoping great things from Jack Besh, but there's no question about Ashton Jeanty, going as a RB1, like in the first rounds for a lot of fantasy folks.
And I know last year kind of disproved this theory. We had a lot of veteran running backs that looked off the age cliff and was just like, we're going to put up career numbers and stuff. But I'm still a big believer that running back is a position where you want youth. And if you're debating between two pretty closely ranked players like CMC and Jeanty are, they're like a couple of running backs apart in early rankings. Yeah. Like, I'm going to go with the young guy all the time. Friend of the show, legitimately a friend of ours in real life, Matthew Bubar asked, hey, by the way, yes, it is. We're going to have our fantasy lunch soon, Bubar. The most underrated running back, Ken Walker or Chase Brown? I think I know your answer.
It's Ken Walker, but it's the most frustrating thing, though. Like,
I did not know your answer.
No, but hear me out. Like, Chase Brown is great. Like, he took advantage of his opportunities, but I think he's not underrated because we're already thinking that the Bengals offense, they're going to have to pass a ton. Their defense sucks. So they're going to put up a lot of points, and obviously Chase Brown is involved in it. But Ken Walker, when you look at where he goes right now, and I really understand, the talent is there, but the frustration I have with him is stay healthy. Stay healthy. Like, I don't want to be attached to Zach Charbonnet when I draft him because it's like, that's just, you're getting two players on the same team at this point right now. Like, I don't want that. But when you draft him and he's on the field and he's great, he can hit those RB1 numbers consistently. It's just a matter of him staying on the field.
Yeah, I think, like, I have Chase Brown ranked as an RB1, so I don't know if I'd call him underrated. Ken Walker could thrive in this outside zone running system of Clint Kubiak. But the thing I will point out that I don't think gets enough talking point is that last year was his worst career season as an outside runner. Like, it took a hit. And to me, that is concerning when this system that you are now operating in is one of the heaviest outside zone run systems in the NFL. Yeah. We also put out a tweet yesterday, LQ, so just wanted to jump through some of these. I have to ask you, Hector asked, will Bo Nix have a new tight end up his value as a solid QB1 now, or should the value of Evan Engram go up and move him into top 5 tight end status?
Ooh, that's a good one. That second one was good because you already know I'm a believer. It's Nick's tape season. Like, we already got that in the bag. He's already a QB1 with or without Evan Engram. But with Evan Engram, it kind of just makes the situation and the argument a little bit stronger of why you should be drafting him as a QB1. But Evan Engram, top 5, like, he would literally have to mirror what he did in that second year in Jacksonville. Like, he will have to have that type of target share for him to be entering that top 5. Because when we talk about Laporta, when we talk about Hawk, those are 4 and 5 right there. I don't know if I could put Evan Engram above either one of those guys right now because I just feel like we need to wait and see what's going on and how Sean Payton's going to utilize his tight end because we haven't seen it in Denver. We've seen it, with the Saints and everything else, but we haven't seen it like come to fruition in Denver. So it's one of those things I'm a little drawn back, and he's returning back from injury. So he could sit at tight end 6, but I definitely think that, it does help the strong argument that Bo Nix has weapons around him. So he is definitely a QB1.
And Hector's in the chat with us right now.
Hey, what up,
Hector? You, Hector. I do agree Bo Nix is a QB1. I don't have Evan Engram as a top 5 tight end. I have him closer to 10 than 5. I think it's possible he finishes top 5, but it'll be one of those things where it's like he volumes his way to it. He stays healthy, stuff like that. Because, look, Evan Engram is great. If Brock Bowers and Trey McBride stay healthy, those are 2 right there automatically finishing ahead of him. Then I think like Kittle, Hawkinson, and I almost said Njoku. Laporta are all names that I have comfortably ahead of Engram. Yeah. We talked a lot about tight ends on Tuesday's show, so please go listen to that tight end show. It might be the most in-depth tight end show in the fantasy space.
And I read the comments. They on my tail. I'll say I'll keep it PG, but I read the comments and I'm here for all the smoke because you're looking at Mr. Top 5 Jonnu Smith right here, Blonde Bandit right now. So
who are they coming at you for?
They coming at me because they said, "Oh, it's so stupid. Don't draft any of the top 3 tight ends or whatever the crap." And I'm like, okay, you could still wait and later in the draft and get the same upside or get the same production. Like, nobody wants to reach on tight end.
Also, there's a big difference between saying I don't want to draft a tight end in round 2 and saying like the top tight ends aren't worth taking. Like, we don't like the cost. We like the play.
I don't like the cost. I don't like the build.
Yeah, that we all agree Bowers and McBride are the top 2 tight ends, and they're the cream of the crop at the position. You're not going to have anyone arguing you on that. It's just, do you like the build when you do that? And both of us agree that we do not. While we're on Bo Nix, Boobar throws into the chat, who are you higher on, Nix or McCarthy? And I will answer for us.
I'm about to say, just answer for us.
It's Bo Nix because of the rushing upside. And he's more like, look, I understand JJ McCarthy has a lot of upside in this offense. I love KOC. I think he's super underrated. Love all the weapons, all of that. Sam Darnold, get it. One, I don't think he's going to run. And two, there's something about being unproven, right? And Bo Nix is proven.
Yeah.
And he was a QB1 as a rookie, so I don't see any reason to really shy away from Nix. LQ, going back to some questions on Twitter. Oh, this is one I wanted to ask you. Sia asked 2 questions, or 3 questions, I should say.
Oh,
one, Achane really making that leap? I'll answer real quick. He already made it, right? Like he was the best fantasy running back last year when he had Tua Tagovailoa. They had the fewest deep balls in the NFL. Their offense was based on screens. Devon Achane is that dude. Like, he is an RB1. The one I wanted to ask you here, though, Davante Adams, is he going to cut into Puka's targets?
Now, quickly, I could say this. No. Puka will have majority of the targets. The volume will go his way because he's the motor. Davante Adams is there to be the weapon of the vehicle, which is the offense. So he's going to be scoring the touchdowns. Puka last season was on pace for 1,500 yards if he played an entire healthy season. He almost put up 1,000 yards with 11 games, which is insane because, again, he's the motor of the offense. So Puka will have the targets, he will have the catches and the yards, but I think Davante Adams, he may have more touchdowns. So the touchdown department, I don't see Puka having more than like 6, maybe 7, because that's just not how he really operates in striking distance. A lot of his touchdowns are either going to be on deep balls or screens or him just breaking a bunch of tackles. And like, that's his game. But I could bank on Davante Adams just being the red zone guy to where you can live and breathe off of touchdowns and him making the explosive plays that he still does as well. So no, I have no fears for Puka's production this year.
So Davante Adams, what do you think? Like 10 touchdowns? Does that seem
10
possible?
That's a ceiling for me. I think 10 is realistic. And like, I think this offense is going to be very versatile. So we might see Tutu, Jordan Whittington, like our tight ends, Tyler Higbee, Terrence Ferguson, like the touchdowns will be distributed. Like, I got Stafford in that 30 to 35 range of touchdowns. And like, This is like a healthy range for him when it comes to like real life and for fantasy. Like, he could be a serviceable high-end QB2, but he could still elevate his wide receiver 1s. And Adams to me is a high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1 on certain weeks of matchups, so like, it's in that ballpark. You just want a piece of this offense.
I tell me if you think I'm crazy here. Like, I think Davante 10 feels like the realistic ceiling. Like, there's a case where if things break right for him, he could get 12 to 14 touchdowns. But I feel like the floor is probably like, if things go wrong for him, he's still probably scoring 7-8 touchdowns this year.
7-8. But that's the thing. That's if things go wrong. If Puka's hurt or if like the offense is just trash, which ain't even going to be nowhere near, man. You know who in the sticks.
But I could see Puka, if Davante puts up 10 touchdowns, I could see Puka being in that 8 to 10 range as well.
That would be beautiful. I just feel like the attention is going to be on him a lot. And when it comes to the striking distance, like we saw it last year, like Coop wasn't helping, no Tyler Higbee. So it was like Puka, he's there as the red zone guy, but like it just wasn't happening.
And the thing about Davante is he might not have the long speed that prime Davante had, but he showed us last year that he still has that quick burst and could get open very fast. He's not going to have Aaron Rodgers throwing him like every single end zone target.
He got an upgrade.
It's just, dude, like when they would get on like the 3-yard line or closer, it was like every single play was going to be a pass to Davante Adams. Like, that's what the Jets offense was last year.
Absolutely.
And it was frustrating. Another question in the chat that I think, one, Hector said go Chiefs, so I'm sorry we answered your question at all.
You said that on this pod?
Oh, I'm sorry, man. But TJ asked, rank these 3 running backs. And I think this is a good question because they might be like back to back to back in my rankings. It's Jeanty, Jacobs, and Achane.
Damn.
I'm pulling up my rankings right now.
I just pulled up mine. Let's see.
So I have
I updated them
at RB4. I have Achan at 6. And I have Jacobs at 9. But I have Jonathan Taylor right ahead of him. And I will admit I go back and forth on those two.
This is crazy. So I got Josh Jacobs as my RB5.
Okay.
Achan, my RB6, and Jeanty at RB7.
Okay. So we
So
have them kind of
that's a
flipped,
tier,
actually.
though. That's a tier, though. Like, that can fluctuate between, it can go either way. Like, that's just the tier right here that I have where it's like, these are strong RB1s. Like, I feel like Jacobs is so undervalued in drafts right now in best ball. Like, I'm waiting, and he's my RB1 with already a stacked, setup following that. So, like, Jacobs, there's nobody competing for touches there. So it's like he is the guy, and he was so great last season.
Yeah. No, he definitely was. I have Achan the highest. I have Jeanty the highest because I just think he is
Yeah.
He could be the RB1.
I just didn't want to get crazy with the rookie Kool-Aid, because it's like I don't want to juice it up because we don't know. We do not know.
No.
And that Raiders O-line was god awful last season, and the run game was just poor. So it's just a question mark.
I just think the Raiders are going to run a ton this year with Pete Carroll and Chip
They should.
Kelly. And I think Genty's a little bit more explosive than what Jacobs is at this point in his career. But look, if the Dolphins offense stays what it was last year, and this is something I'm going to harp on a lot this year because I don't think it's getting talked about enough. Like,
No.
literally in the last 2 seasons, no team has thrown a fewer percentage of deep balls than the Dolphins did last year. And instead, all they did was screens to Achan and quick dump offs to Jonnu Smith. Like, that's what the Dolphins offense became. And that, I think, was by design because they were like, we need to get the ball out of Tua Tagovailoa's hands as quickly as possible. If that is what the Dolphins offense is again this year, Devon Achan is going to break fantasy because he's going to have 100 screen passes alone.
Yeah.
So that to me is why I'm so high on Achan and what he could be. A lot of questions in the chat. This is what I want to ask.
Buzzing.
We got Reagan Hughes asked, does Davante Adams worry you for Kyron Williams and losing that touchdown equity because he was not very efficient last year? Now, I will say before we even get into this, LQ is a Rams fan that for some reason hates Kyron Williams.
I don't hate him, but I do hate the fumbles. I hate the fumbles. But listen to this, right? Last year, we were very against the traditional Rams offense when it comes to the striking zone, the red zone, and us not being able to capitalize on some of these, targets that were going to Coop and the loss of Tyler Higbee and Puka Nacua being obviously the biggest focus and us not being able to throw there. So that's why he had all that volume there. You bring in the fix in both areas. You bring in the fix with Davante Adams, who's obviously going to be the red zone hog. Like, he is going to be the fix for us to be more, efficient in red zone area, where Kyron, those touches don't need to go to him anymore because we were desperate to score. That's why he had so many touches and so many snaps. And I look at Jarquez Hunter coming in. He was very good in the red zone at Auburn as well. He's explosive and has a nose for the end zone. There needs to be a split in his carries. There needs to be a split in time that he's on the field. He's a great pass blocker, but he will have that touchdown regression that will come back down to earth. I think his ceiling this year is actually 10 touchdowns. That may sound crazy, but that's still healthy for an RB1. You know what I mean? Like, I really feel like we need to draw back the line of where we think Kyron Williams is going to be at.
I still like Kyron Williams.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
He's Sean McVay's RB1, right? Like that. That's all I need. Sean McVay, outside of those couple of years where he was searching for a running back, his running backs are fantasy gold. So I'm gonna trust him. I'm gonna trust the system, and I'm gonna take a little bit of a discount.
Ball, Kyron.
I'm gonna take a little discount on him. But EB threw in the chat, and we had a similar question on Twitter, so we could kind of pair these two together. EB's question is favorite non-PPR running back heading into the season. And shout out to you, EB. He says we have great chemistry.
Oh,
There was
thanks.
also a question on our Twitter, LQ. How different is the strategy when drafting in a PPR versus a standard? And I do think the biggest difference in a PPR versus standard is largely at the running back position,
Yeah.
because wide receivers are like, they have to all catch the ball, right? So yeah, like maybe your slot receiver who is a short air yard guy, he might take a big hit there, but the biggest difference is pass catching running backs, and someone like Devon Achan loses a lot of value when you go from PPR to standard. But to answer EB's question, like favorite non PPR running back, like Jonathan Taylor, I think is a huge winner if you go to standard, because he was 7th last year in the NFL in scrimmage yards. We know he is going to put up a lot of touchdowns, but he's not going to get a lot of dump offs from Anthony Richardson.
No.
If it's Daniel Jones, maybe that's different. But he was one that comes to mind.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick
The
Henry
king.
is a big one. like Najee Harris, those types of running backs, right? Like those power runners who aren't going to catch a ton of passes, who gonna leave the field for that third down back. Like even someone like James Cook, who you would think catches a lot of passes, but like he gets taken off the field in those situations. So those are the biggest winners, I think, in standard formats.
Yeah. And why are we still playing standard? Let's switch to PPR. That's the standard, folks. What are we doing here?
Hey, on NFL.com,
I'm shaming.
that is our standard, is PPR. And I was here a few years ago when they made that move, and let me tell you, we were ecstatic, because it was like, we have to add all these manual PPR points in. Let's just make this the norm. Like
Standard.
we're doing research and stuff. So that was certainly a big thing. Couple more questions before we're gonna talk movies a little bit too. But I thought this one on Twitter was a really interesting one, and I saw you responded to it as well, LQ. CNB asked, Trey Harris, Luther Burden, or Jaden Higgins? It's like saying Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud, or Justin Herbert.
Jeez, man. Jeez.
Which I actually don't agree with it's like saying the quarterback part.
I feel like, here's the thing, right? We have Trey Harris that I feel like he's obviously going to be competing with Ladd. You have Luther that's going to be competing with everybody in the staff in the gym. Like it's going to be a lot of mouths to feed there. We saw it last year with Caleb. Like he kind of was just dispatching. Jaden Higgins, he's a number 2 to Nico Collins that has a similar play type, and I think there is a vacant targets there that he can really just eat up as the number 2. I love Christian Kirk, but I think Jaden Higgins is probably top tier to Trey to Luther in this scenario right here.
I will admit, during the draft, Luther Burden was my guy, and I was by far higher on him than these other two. But I end up taking Trey Harris the most of this. But I see what people see in Jaden Higgins. I was not that high on him, but even that,
nobody is. That's fine.
Nico is probably the biggest target. It's him and DJ. Like Ladd McConkey could become that, but Nico Collins already is that vacuum where he's gonna have a 30% target share. Christian Kirk
he's on the field,
be in the slot. Yeah, that determines a lot. But like week 1, I feel much more confident about Trey Harris's involvement in his offense than these other two.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the
to
only...
an extent.
Yeah, he's probably going to be the X, right? Like
Higgins, he has to. Yeah,
is Higgins going to be out there on 2 wide receiver sets? I'm not confident in that yet.
But who will? I mean, we saw Christian Kirk in Arizona play, the X and Z. Like he was involved in 2 wide receiver sets. But if it's that, you ain't going to put Jalen Noel or Christian Kirk out there. You have to put Higgins, like he is also a field stretcher.
And Nico.
Kirk and Nico, I guess. But
Nico's not coming off the field.
I don't think Kirk is at the point now in his career where he could be as aggressive on the outside. Like I don't think he's that win downfield or even short yardage.
Higgins certainly could push Kirk. Like I'm not saying he can't, but he has to, Whereas
he has to. Yeah.
Harris, who does Quentin? I'm the Quentin Johnson guy on this show.
Yeah, that is true. That is
it's
true.
a much different And then as much as I love Burden and think he's like a great talent, DJ Moore, Colson Loveland, Roma Dunze, like he's not going to be out there on 2 wide receiver sets. We know that.
He's
So
going to
to
be
me,
deployed at certain times. Like he's going to be like, all right, we need this. We need a spark. Then that's going to cut into like his fantasy relevance because he's probably not going to be on the field. Like
I'll tell you this right now. My like looking into the future. Luther Burden is going to have a limited role, but he is going to be so efficient in that role that you're going to see a bunch of efficiency stats on fantasy Twitter and stuff like we need to get this guy the ball more and stuff. And
like Greg Dortch, right?
Yeah. The idea of Luther Burden is going to be so much better than the actual production because Burden could play, but it's like you said, they're going to pick their spots with him and stuff like that. So, that is going to hurt his fantasy value. Another question before we start talking some movies and stuff.
Let's go.
Steven on Twitter asked, what number should you prayer hands for as in rounds 1, like from picks 1 through 12? Like which pick is it that, because on certain sites, like you could kind of put in your preference for what pick you would want and stuff. Yeah. If you got to choose, what pick are you going with?
I like that 4 spot because like it kind of gives me a direction of where I'm going to go because we can say it's Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley. I can end up with Bijan and be very happy there. I can end up with CD and be very, very happy there. Or even other scenarios where sometimes Justin Jefferson might fall to that 4 spot. And you're like, this is player? Look, man, it could be Bijan or it could be Puka. It could be
I was
CD.
looking for the Puka.
Like it could be a couple folks there that you could put in that conversation, but I think that 4 spot is like a sweet spot to where like something good can just fall into your lap right there.
No, I like the back being at the end of, and this isn't just like a 2025 thing. This is just a me in general thing. Like I always like being towards the turns more because I feel like, one, you get 2 picks pretty quickly. You kind of have an idea of what you want to do there. You're a little bit more like, if I don't take this guy, I'm not going to get him. Whereas a lot of the times when I'm in the middle of the round or something, I'm like, this guy might make it back to me or something
and
like
then
that.
Sniped.
Yeah. But I'll say this in general, like this year specifically, I like being in the beginning or the end of drafts. I don't like being in the middle because, look, I love Malik Neighbors or Puka Nacua. And I even love like Lad McConkey and stuff, but I do think that there's a high end tier that kind of runs out around picks 5 or so. And then there's a big group of players. Like, look, I like Neighbors. I like Puka more than some others, but like there's a big group of guys that I think are pretty similar. And that group kind of runs out when you get back into the middle of round 2. So I feel like if you're in the middle of round 2, you have to pick from that big group, and then you're not even getting to double dip in that group. So I don't like being like picks 5 or 6, and I never do. That's just me in general. But we're gonna, if you have still more questions, feel free to throw them in. But LQ thought of a really interesting movie topic because we
the Florio
saving.
Film Festival.
I forget what the movie is in the film festival. We're saving that for 2 weeks from now because just a reminder, next week NFL media is going to be dark. It's our week off from the summer, like July 4th. Go hang out with your family before you have to work.
Touch grass
all along. So we won't be here next week, but the week after we'll be back with MG and we will be watching Land of Bad, which producer Gavin has definitely told us some good things about it. I am excited to watch it. But we were like, let's talk some movies still this week. So LQ thought of the topic, movies that deserve a sequel. And LQ, I'm letting you know right now, I have thoughts about your pick.
What? Look, so we all love the classics, and some classics shouldn't be touched, but Adam Sandler, when it comes to an Adam Sandler movie, you kind of like, it's a whatever funny movie, but Big Daddy is a classic, man. I want a part 2. Can we get Julie and Sonny back together? Like, I really feel like there should be a part 2 for Big Daddy because there's so many angles they can go with.
Is there?
Yes.
Like, my thinking was, what is the story going to be? Like, Grandpa Adam Sandler? Like,
He could be in his 50s. Like, it could be his real life age. Like, Adam Sandler could show up in a golf shirt off color from a basketball shorts with flip flops. Like, he could be that entire movie, just a cool, laid back. Like, he could still be like the lawyer because he used his degree at the end of the movie. So he could still have a small practice. But Julian,
he's a kid himself.
yeah, but this could be like 20 years later. He could be in his early 20s trying to
Like,
figure
Julian
out
is
life.
doing the same thing. Like, he adopts a kid.
He he was adopted, but it's like he has like this identity crisis. Let's just say that. Like, he doesn't know how to figure out life, and he needs Sonny to show him the basics of life, how he did when he was a kid. Like, come on. It's there.
I'll say this. Look, Big Daddy is not only my favorite Adam Sandler movie, it is one of my favorite comedy movies. Like, I know every word to Big Daddy. Like, I can sit down.
I wipe my own.
Yeah, 30 packets of ketchup. Like, every line, I could sit down and actually quote it. I don't want a part 2 because I love part 1 so much that I'm like, I think like they're making a Happy Gilmore 2. I've watched the trailer. It's going to be awful. Like, I'm going to watch it, nostalgia, all of that. Yeah. It is going to be awful.
I think it's going to be awful because we have too many celebrities. Like, I think Travis Kelce is in it, Bad Bunny's in it. Like, it's just a bunch of randoms that don't.
That's what these movies become. And like, that's what I don't want Big Daddy to become, you know?
No, man, we got to keep the same cast and everything, man. Like the Hooters girl, the old guy.
Microsoft went down 3 points.
Yes.
The drunk guy.
Yes.
Jets.
We need the homeless guy in the park. Like, we need all these characters.
Gavin's gonna join us for this talk. Gavin, are you're a Big Daddy fan or no?
I love Big Daddy. Yeah.
Would you want a Big Daddy too?
No, I totally agree. When you start bringing all the celebrities in and you kind of lose the point of the movie, and it kind of, Hollywood always seems to screw it up. So I know what you're saying. I went through it with Anchorman too. Remember that? I loved Anchorman.
Oh, yeah.
Zoolander. Like, a lot of times they make these sequels and then it loses the aura.
It doesn't stick.
Do you remember a couple years, I think it was maybe during COVID, but like Coming to America 2 came out and it was the big talking point and then no one brings it up ever because these
we ignore it.
They're cash grabs, these sequels.
Well, you know, the most recent one was Gladiator 2. I
haven't seen it yet, but I heard it's not that good.
It is awful. You can't watch it again. It's yeah.
I haven't watched Joker 2, but I heard that's not good.
No.
Some movies just don't need a sequel.
Yeah, that should have been the question then. Movies that do not need a sequel.
I went for my answer a little off the beaten path because I was sitting there for a while, like what, and like there's certain movies like you guys know I love The Warriors. Like if they remade that, I'd be hyped. But I'm like, is that a sequel? But Many Saints of Newark is, for those who don't know, it is the Sopranos movie. It came out like a couple years ago. HBO, like the writer made it and everything, and it focuses on like young Tony Soprano and all of that. And the issue with the movie is they focused more on having like the characters and stuff seem like the younger versions of themselves, and the storyline was awful. Like no one wanted this storyline that they gave us. But if you are a Sopranos fan, you know that throughout especially the early seasons, there's a lot of talk about when Tony and Jackie Aprile like stuck up a mob poker game, and that's how Tony became Tony, and that's how Jackie eventually becomes like the boss of the family, and then Tony takes over and stuff. That should have been what the movie is. Like, give us Tony being Tony, not Tony being a side character for a person that we only heard about in The Sopranos and never actually knew, you know? So I know a lot of people hate The Many Saints of Newark. It's not a great movie. I will agree with all of that. But I think if you made the storyline better, it could be a great movie. And that is the storyline that people would want. I don't know if any of you even saw the first one.
Netflix, pick it up. Pick it up, Netflix. HBO. Oh, man. Max picks that up. It's going to be good.
I didn't see it, but I heard his son was really good in it.
His son is great. Yeah. Some of the other characters are a little too over the top. But the storyline, it was just like, it was stuff that you didn't really care about. And like everyone wants to see Tony become Tony, not like Tony watch his uncle do mob stuff, you know?
Yeah. I had two. I kind of wrestled with them. I'm gonna go with this one though. The Social Network 2 Electric Boogaloo. So look,
Wait, is this the Facebook movie?
yeah,
Oh my God, yes.
you
Let's
got
get it
Jesse
too.
Eisenberg. He's still young enough to play Zuckerberg now. I mean, he's pretty much the same age.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's happened in that world the last 15 years. So I just think it kind of writes itself. Also, you're going to get Zuck versus Musk at some point. And then
We almost got that in an actual fight.
yeah,
right.
I have a casting for it for Elon Musk. Nicholas Hoult is currently playing Lex Luthor in the new Superman, so he's kind of got the character down. Just take off the bald cap, and then you're good to go. But I think all the inner workings and the rise of other platforms and Instagram and buying Instagram. There's so much there.
This is a great one.
Yeah. And again, I have hesitation. Is Hollywood actually going to do this? And then it'll be terrible. But I think there's a lot of room there. Yeah.
Can we get Justin Timberlake back?
I saw The Social Network in theaters, and I was like, "This movie's amazing," and then I've never watched it again. So like, I need to watch it again.
And it's a very rewatchable movie. The performance.
No, it's fun. Yeah.
David Fincher. Yeah. My other one was
your
Uncut Gems 2. So
how
that movie was set in 2012 before the legalization of sports gambling. So it's set in New York, right? So now you set it today. You have his son, obviously Adam Sandler. By the way, second Adam Sandler mention.
Yeah, right. Let's go.
Maybe you follow the son, who's like a crypto bro now or something, and he gets pulled into the seedy underworld of gambling, and
with a different ending
and a different NBA player. Like, it's not Kevin Garnett now. It's like Chet
it's
Holmgren
Paul Pierce.
Or something like that.
Paul Pierce. Yeah. Just keep it in that bag. Paul Pierce. Call it a day.
I think he's still walking to work right now. So.
Yeah.
In the comments, Tashawn says Bad Boys 2, Terminator 2, which obviously I think Terminator 2 is widely regarded as like the best sequel, and Rush Hour 2 are the only good. Rush Hour 2 is my personal favorite. Like, obviously Terminator 2 is what it is, but I love Rush Hour 2.
You know what's crazy? As a kid, I thought Terminator 2, not obviously. As a kid, I was like, is this the first one? Like, I want to watch the first Terminator. I didn't even know the first one existed because of how long
it's
ago
way
it came
better.
out.
It's not even
like, it was, yeah, exactly. So 2 was like my one that I was exposed to where I was like, yo, this is the best thing ever.
I don't think I've ever.
And Bad Boys 2 is goated. That is
goated,
yeah. Heat 2, by the way, is going to come out. That would have been my answer. I love Heat, Michael Mann movie back in the day. Dude, that movie, I think they're going to get it right. They have a lot of the same people involved. So
screw it. Goodfellas 2.
I was honestly running through like my because Goodfellas is my favorite movie of all time, and I was like, nah. Goodfellas 2 is pretty much The Departed. Like that. That's kind of Oh, Hector, before we go, Hector says, what about Spaceballs 2? I will admit I've never seen
that's probably MG's bag, man. We got to get him in on this conversation.
That was an OG like sleepover movie for my friends and I when we were like 10 years old or whatever.
That was like Scary Movie before Scary Movie was a thing.
Yeah.
So obviously Godfather comes up. The Dark Knight, that is one of the best sequels of all time.
That could be a sequel that can live and breathe as a one. Like, yes.
Yeah, you don't even need to. The first Batman movie in that trilogy is not that great.
The third one was terrible.
Origin. Yeah, it's good.
I like the Bane one. I have a soft
spot.
No.
He
Bane
was terrible.
Was such a cool bad
His
guy.
voice was so off, though.
I love Tom Hardy.
I was born in the dark.
Yeah. Good times.
Oh, man. Someone said Winter Soldier.
Captain America 2.
That was a great,
And before we go, we would be remiss. Friend of the show, Rachel, a.k.a. Tootsie Pop. It is her birthday today.
Hey!
So happy birthday. She says, what is the best meal to have on your birthday? I think it depends for what your taste is. Like gosh. I do Korean barbecue a lot.
Yo, I just said that. Let's go.
That's a go-to.
Korean barbecue.
Brazilian barbecue, also delicious. And anything where you could get meats, just ton of meats. That's what I want.
Pause.
Good place to end the
and
show.
On that note, I think that is a good place to say goodbye. Again, just a reminder that next week we will be taking the week off for the 4th of July. It's not just us,
Dark
it's
week.
all of NFL media. So allowing everyone to have some time with their friends and family and loved ones. And I hope all of you out there have a tremendous 4th of July with whoever you want to celebrate, however you want, some adult beverages, lots of food, hopefully. But we will be back the week after that. We'll have the full band back together for the first time in a couple of weeks now with me and MG being back. LQ will be here. And that is when we will really be in fantasy football mode, right? Like training camp will be open at that point. The 4th will be behind us. And
We
it
might
is
be going to
full-
some. We might be going.
we might be going. Fingers crossed. But yeah, so really keep rocking with us, but enjoy next week. And for LaQuan Jones, for me, I'm Michael Florio, for the Fantasy Football Show. Thank
Let's
you so
go.
much for taking time out of your day and listening.